Yo, good afternoon. This is the demo for our blackjack game for Project 1 created by me, Rafi, Kush, and Janice. So we're currently on the home page in which you can play or see the official rules of blackjack. So if you click rules, you can see all the official rules for blackjack. And then we can just head straight to play the game. And on this page we have the bet page which is created to add a realistic feel to the game, but our actual game has no gambling involved. So we can just click any number, which leads us to either shuffle or deal for the play page. So on this page we can choose to either shuffle or deal the cards. Either way, the shuffle page will redirect you to the deal page after the animation. So we can just click shuffle, which brings you to the shuffle page, which shows you the shuffle animation, which redirects us to the actual deal page here where the player gets 2 cards and the dealer draws 2 cards. On this page we can decide whether to hit or stand, but in this scenario we would hit, so you choose your actions from this icon. So we would choose to hit, which draws a card for the player, and we can hover our mouse over the card to see what card we drew, which is a 7, which gives us a value of 16. So we can either hit or stand here, but let's try to hit, get a better card, better hand. After hit, you get another card added to your hand. We got a 4, which gives us a 20 in value. And in this scenario, most people would stand, but we can go for the gamble play, trying to get an ace and try to hit. And in this case, we busted, so we go to this page, which shows the dealer's hand and the dealer's card, and it redirects us to the winner screen. So in this scenario, the dealer has won the game, but you can get many different outcomes depending on whether if you hit or stand. And on our webpage, we also have a restart screen if you want to restart the game, which brings you back to the home page. We also have a game rules screen, which, like previously said before, shows all the rules of blackjack. We have a summary screen that shows all the responsibilities of the team, and we also have our YouTube link. And this is basically a demo of our project. Thank you.
So for our project, we decided on a blackjack simulation interface where a user is able to play a game of blackjack. So again, it's mimicking a round of the card game. We're not actually using real logic. We're just kind of getting the idea of how a game will work using HTML and CSS. We also wanted to base our project off of the idea of it being one animated screen. So you'll see later on that comes into play with how we styled our screens, just making sure that it looks like one screen, even though it's multiple HTML pages. The user inputs are just simple navigations by clicking certain links and buttons. They're able to make choices on how they want to play the game or what pages they want to go to just through clicking links. So our home page is a centered landing page that features H1, H3, and image classes to welcome a user and introduce the user to the game. We have 2 hyperlinks that are positioned on top of the main image using relative positioning so that they're able to float on top of the image. And that gives the user the option to start a game or go ahead and read the rules of blackjack. We are using RGBA coloring for the links so that transparency can be a factor and give it that kind of dynamic look when we're hovering over the links and stuff. We also have 2 hyperlinks that are at the bottom of the page that give the user the option to navigate to our summary or our YouTube video.
Yo, good afternoon. This is Rafi, and I'm gonna be going over my part of our blackjack game for Project 1. So first I'm gonna start off with the shuffle page. So the shuffle page is basically a page meant to just give the game a feeling of realism. So it has no actual impact on the game, as this page has no logic to it or anything. So basically it's just pure animation. So regardless of whether you shuffle or not, the result is already predetermined by what we have set the cards to be. And this is the shuffle animation. So basically, the shuffle animation uses a WebKit animation, which is an infinite loop, which moves the cards from the default deck position all the way to different positions. So multiple divs of cards are made to shuffle from left to right straight back to the default position, and they keep on looping. So I use the WebKit transform translate X to basically move one card from the middle, which is the default position, to the left, and then more cards are spread to the left, and some cards are spread to the right, which gives a feeling of an actual shuffle animation. And this is basically the main part of the shuffle page. Next, we have the deal page. This is basically where the cards are handed out to both the player and the dealers. So 2 cards are given to both the dealer and the players. Both of the player cards are shown, and then one of the dealer's cards is shown and the other is face down. And then we have the hit page. In blackjack, hitting is basically drawing. So you can keep on hitting until you either get blackjack, which is 21 value, or you go over 21, which is bust, or you decide that you're happy with the cards you have and you're ready to see what the dealer has to play to see who wins. Our hit page is basically an animation showing a card being drawn from the actual deck default position into the player's hands. And then this is our flip animation code for when you hover over a card that's drawn from the hit page. It's going to be drawn face down, but if you hover over the card, you can see what the actual value is once it's in your hand. So the flip animation is actually used in 2 ways on our website. So on the stand page, the dealer's cards are automatically flipped over, which is shown in the WebKit animation, which basically flips the actual card. But how we achieved the flip card animation was by using 2 different divs. One div was the actual back of the card face down card image, and the other div is the actual value of the card, which in this code snippet is 7 of diamonds. So we used both. They were both in the same div, and their the actual value of the card is being hidden by backface visibility, which is set to hidden for both, which hides the actual value of the card while only showing one side of the card. And this is maintained by the preserved 3D transform style. So after all that, we use a transform animation, rotate Y by 180 degrees, which flips the backside of the card to the actual value of the card. And we also did this for cards that you've drawn. So cards that you've drawn, you have to hover over to see the actual value to turn you draw the card. And then, but for when you stand, the dealer's cards are automatically flipped over instead of you having to hover over it. And then the draw animation. So the draw animation code basically just uses the translate Y and translate X transformation animation. So basically we did this by I did this by translating y, which moves it along the y-axis, which is up and down, and then the x-axis, which is left and right. So basically for each card drawn, I did an animation where it translates it up a certain certain number, and then left or right a certain number, depending on whether the player is drawing or the dealer is drawing. And this is the animation is maintained by the forwards property, which means after the animation is complete, the actual card will stay where it is, even after the movement of the card from the deck to the player's hand is completed. And next we have the stand page. So in this page, you basically, when the player is happy with their hand, they can just stand and say they're done drawing, and then this means that the player is now ready to see the dealer's cards to see if he won or lost. So once the stand page comes up for our website, all the dealer's hidden card is uh, flipped over, and also if the dealer has less than a 17, he draws another card. But the way we designed our webpage, the dealer has less than 17, so he draws one more card, which makes him get up to 17 in value, and then he cannot draw anymore as per the rules of blackjack. And then, depending on what his value is and what your value of your hand is, we determine if you have won the game or lost the game.
Our first steps into planning our blackjack game, we had a meeting and we came up with different ideas how we should begin, how we should create our home pages and on the pages that follow afterwards. I started creating a flowchart, as we can see right here, and we started to lay down the ideas of what are the different pages that we're going to have and how they would link with each other. This is the first page right here, is the home page, and all these parts, we divided them evenly so that we would know where one page will end and the other one would start off. Starting at the top of the flowchart, we had the home page, which Janice did, and most of all this top section right here, Janice did. We started with the home page, which goes to the play page. The play page will have some more buttons, which will lead to the bets page. The bets page will lead to the shuffle and deal. We designed it so that the bets page can either lead to shuffle or the deal page, because there would be multiple bets and we would want each of them to lead to one of these options. Then we would have the main part where the game is actually played. This portion is Rafi's. Hit and stand were the two methods, and we would start with it, and hit will move on to either the user hitting again or standing, which will do the animations and move on to the next web page. The next web page will either be the dealer's move, where the dealer would win, or the player would win. And we'll move to the status of the game, and that will either be the dealer winning or the player winning. Here at the bottom, right underneath the hit and stand portion, underneath the dealer hits portion, we have dealer wins at the restart, and then the three little boxes at the bottom. This is my portion where we would have the status of the game, the dealer winning or the player winning, and they all branch the same button, which is the restart button. This is my portion down here where the status of the game is shown, either the dealer wins or the player wins, and they all branch to this one spot right here, which is the restart button. This restart button is on all of the pages, and it allows the player to just restart the game no matter where they are. And at the bottom, there's also multiple pages that are either pop out, so the game that's already running doesn't get lost, or it'll just revert to the beginning of the game. And the reason some of these buttons went to an alternative tab instead of just opening in the current one is to save the data that was actually in the game. So if a player is already in mid-game, you wouldn't want them to lose the set of cards that they had. That's why there's these buttons that are on all of the pages, which will either restart the game if the player wants to, or pop out to a different screen if they so decide to go to the rules page or the summary page. Next is some code of how I created the score. We have the main div at the top right here, and the score status. The class for the score is down here on the left side, where we have some basic positioning elements, making sure that wherever the header for the score status is applied, it doesn't overlap or it doesn't break the page. It will just be added right on top, showing the status of the game. Another class is content. This part was applied to many of the divs, and it allowed two really crucial parts of the code to merge together, which is the display flex and the flex direction, where most of the items are in columns. These other two parts down here, the header button and static button class, are a part of the buttons that are laid at the top in a row of all the web pages. The main parts of this is the display flex and the flex flow row no wrap, which allows the buttons to stand side by side in their own little boxes, and they prevent it from stacking on top of each other. And static buttons is it's just the elements displaying how they look, so they're all floated next to the left of each other, and they don't wrap on top of each other or any other components that are in the web page underneath or above the buttons. Next, we actually have the buttons, and how I made them is, as I said before, we had the class as static buttons, and we would have our links in a little button element which shows a button, and I made it so some of the buttons pop out onto another tab and another web page is not on the web page that we're currently on. So all the information that is on the current page is not lost. For instance, if we were in a blackjack game where the cards are already dealt, we wouldn't want to lose the position that we're at. So for the ability for the user to select the rules link or the summary link while they're playing and still go back to the game was really crucial. So I added in this pop-out web page on the link portion to the restart button, the rules, the summary, and the YouTube link. That is our blackjack project.